What's up, Tampa? It's Thursday, September 26th. You're listening to Tampa Talk. I'm John.
And I'm Dahlia.
This is your weekly download of what's happening around the 813, local news, upcoming events, stories that from Tampa's past that still shape our city today.
Yeah, well, let's jump in. What did you do this week?
What did I do? Well, some of these weeks are just a blur. We did a lot of things, but also feels like I've been focused on just a couple things. And, I ran into this. You asking me this feels like this. I ran into someone that I hadn't seen in a while the other night, and they were like, "What's new?" And I just froze. It's weird because part of me wants to say like nothing ever changes. I've been doing the same thing for decades. We've been doing the exact same thing, but then like things are new, all the time. Like we were just talking about, like you and I we just came out of a staff meeting. We're like, look around. There's like 5 of us sitting around discussing like the team and like the projects we're working on are like the scale of things that were our entire operation, but a few years ago. And so there's just like, there's so much growth and change. And yet at the same time, like this same, like this path we've been walking, it's a weird, I don't know, those questions just come up where I'm like, there's a lot new. Mm-hmm. There's also nothing new.
And it's really cool sometimes because I don't think the path is always clear. Like we set goals sometimes. Like I remember some of the first planning meetings we had, we set goals that seemed unattainable at the time. Like goals, but I mean,
dreams
Dreams, exactly. Mm-hmm. Like we had dreams, and you've been having dreams probably around the time I was born, right? In terms of this work.
Yeah, I'm old.
But we've like done them and more, right? And rapidly in terms of like how this space moves. And so looking around the room, it's not just that there's 5 of us. I mean, the well has always kind of been 15, 20 people deep, but it's at this level of like the strategic operational planning, like it just we're built out in a lot of ways.
Oh, it's night and day different, yeah.
And that's really cool to look around and say, I can count on Chrissy to do this, right? Lindsay can take that. Like some weeks we barely work together, you and I, and yet...
Yeah, I see you for this.
Yeah. And yet, you've been able to raise over $100 and something thousand for the shop, and
yeah, it's been going well. Keep it coming though, y'all. Keep it coming for sure.
And we're launching a mobile kitchen in a couple weeks here, right? Like
it's crazy.
And so the growth, the path isn't always clear ahead of you, but then now at this point in it, you can look back and be like, oh, that was obvious, right? We've worked on that every single day and done a ton of new stuff every single day.
Yeah, it's funny. This came up, and I think I spoke Monday night. I met with there's a social enterprise class for master students, like master degree seeking students over there. They're always small, usually in the business school, but some of them from different areas, but they have me in like each semester, like as one of the it's like a local social entrepreneur, come in, share your story kind of thing. It's always fun. But then you do like Q&A, and I think this is where this came up this week, where I was like the idea of strategy and planning. And I don't know, this came to mind because you said like the path's not always clear. There's a part of me, I reference this a lot. You've heard me say this, where I think of like, I'm always a fan of like the parkour, like the free running videos on YouTube. But there's like, and if you guys aren't familiar with this, you can like look it up, parkour or free running. But these people will just run athletically in a single direction. And whatever obstacle there is, there's a staircase, they jump over it. They go under it, they go around it, they go over it. But it's these flipping and running, they just run in a single direction. And interestingly, like to me, like where the path isn't always clear, and I've even used the language of like being a pathfinder. It's like you find a path like parkour, but it's like we're going that way. Like there is almost like a North Star or a dream. A dream of a city that's well built, a dream of a place that works for all of our neighbors. But we don't know what it looked like. We weren't aiming to open the shop or a drop-in center, but we do want to live in a city where all of our neighbors have access to showers and laundry and air conditioning and a mailing address. And so, hey, if that's going to be lost, then, oh, by the way, now that's part of the path. Yeah. That's part of the path. And so we have to go, we want to take responsibility for that direction. Anyway, so the questions around strategy to me is always a little funny because I'm like, I'm very strategic in things, but also not in the like 5-year plan way because I'm like, God only knows what life looks like around the corner.
But I tell you look at some of those early documents of our 5-year plan, which
it's crazy.
We've kind of checked it all off.
Well, no, I remember, and I don't want to spend too long on this, but I remember having, and for some reason, I did a session early days of the well. We did like a retreat. It was a small team of us. Jess was around back in the day. There's a lot of the folks that aren't around anymore. So college students. We did this like retreat, like weekend. someone's house. And during that weekend, we gave everyone like paper and markers, and we were like, draw like what could be one day. And at this point, we were like in someone else's building. We were like, I think we ran like a weekly dinner at this point. We had like a house church. We were doing so little. But and I think we went to the Good Samaritan with dinner. So we ran a few meals and we did stuff with the hungry and homeless. And, but I remember for some reason, one of the girls there drew a photo where it was like if we had our own building and there was like a little kitchen in it. And then there was this trailer outside that had all these groceries in it. And then there was like a garden. And I remember like we weren't doing those things, but I remember getting this, and like for some reason, it was like the prettiest of the drawings, the clearest of what the vision was. And I kept it. And one day I was like cleaning my office in the drop-in center that we ran like back in 2014, where we had a garden outside and we had a trailer parked outside. And I like was going through files and I pulled this out, and it was like, this is this building.
Yeah.
I mean, not like a snapshot of the building.
Yeah,
but we were literally in the thing that she had drawn that we had not thought about. And so it's weird how those dreams and those directions become, like you're saying, you look back at them, you're like, you find the old to-do list and you're like, we did all that.
Yeah. I actually did this week. I like found it just a
Happens
personal
all the time.
to-do. Yeah.
Happens all the time.
And so you got to write it down. You got to plan. Almost there's an art to strategy. There's not like a rule book. You know what I mean? Or there's not a clear way to do it, but there's an art to it nonetheless.
Yeah, it would be foolish to say like we did this, like I knew step 1, 2, 3, 4. I always joked like when COVID hit, like how's that 5-year plan going, right? Because it's like you get thrown curveballs, but if you're going, well, I'm going that way, come hell or high water, and that's the way I'm going, and you have your eyes on something, it's but it's good to look back and see those things and kind of realize where we are with growth and change. So let's look really far back because we want to do this week in Tampa history. So we're going to head back to September 26th, 1960, when the University of South Florida held its very first day of classes.
That's pretty cool. Also, that school started that late in the year, the 26th. But about 1,900 students were enrolled that day, and things kicked off with a convocation ceremony at the brand new university in North Tampa, dubbed the Accent on Learning.
Like the accent? Like
maybe like the accent, like the apostrophe.
emphasis.
Yeah,
I don't know. USF was the first major. Clearly, we need education.
Yeah.
But USF was the first major state university in the U.S. that was planned, built, and opened in the 20th century, and it was also Florida's first university located in a major metropolitan area.
Yeah, that's kind of cool because isn't UF one of the oldest, like the University of Florida? I think it's one of the oldest in the country as well.
Is that right?
Yeah. But shout out to all the Bulls out there. Yeah, go Bulls. On news this week, this story I'm really glad about because I love this campground, but Chassahowitzka River Campground, which is out like kind of near Brooksville, just north of Weeki Wachee, in Citrus County, is a campground that was just saved from permanent closure.
Yeah, so you pronounced it.
Chassahowitzka.
That river campground. So it sits near Seven Sisters Springs, and it faced closure after the hurricanes last year caused major damage.
But thanks to public pressure, including a petition with over 2,500 signatures, the Southwest Florida Water Management District voted unanimously to let the county manage the campground for the next 40 years. And if you haven't been here, this is, to me, like, forget Weeki Wachee, forget all these other, like, really busy springs. Chassahowitzka's sick. You can pull it in your own you can put in your own boat, you can rent one for $10, and you literally have to go like 2 feet. You know, some of these rivers you have to like go really far, and it's a party. Like there's everybody and their brother there. They're all local Floridians. Like I believe the springs are the best kept secret of Florida, but I think Chassahowitzka is the best kept in like the Tampa, like, you know, within an hour drive.
That Southwest Florida Water Management District, some of you may recognize or hear referred to as Swift Mud. Just to connect that for those of you that didn't do that on your own. Citrus County will develop a renovation plan, and the water district is kicking in $200,000 to help restore that site.
Also, Tampa Pride has announced that it's canceling the 2026 Pride Festival and Diversity Parade, which I believe they canceled last year as well.
Is that right? So St. Pete Pride is like gigantic. Right. And for clarity, Tampa Pride is distinct from that. This is not St. Pete Pride. But from Tampa Pride, in a letter shared on Facebook, organizers cited the current political and economic climate as the reason behind the pause, and also noted that the Tampa Pride president, Carrie West's contract will expire. is expired. Expired in August 2025.
Yeah, no words what future plans look like. And like I said, either last year they canceled and then found the money to do it anyways, but this was an issue last year as well.
I think there were some fundraising issues. That's right. If you live in Lutz, listen up. A precautionary boil water notice is currently in effect for the Windermere drinking water system in Hillsborough County.
So the issue started with an electrical problem at the water plant, which caused the system's pressure to drop below the legal threshold.
Yeah, about 1,000 homes are affected. And if you're one of them, boil your water for at least 1 minute before using it to cook, to brush your teeth, to wash dishes, or you could just use bottled water until the notice is lifted.
Next up, we have a teacher at Manatee Elementary School that has been arrested on, I hate reporting on stories like this because it's like the elementary school is the last place you want to hear this kind of charge.
Yeah. So Daniel Armando Muniv Verut, I'm probably mispronouncing that. But Daniel was charged with possession of child pornography and possession of sexual content involving an animal.
I forget that we record our faces now because I just made the worst face.
We are on camera.
Yeah. But the school has confirmed he has not been on campus since Monday and will have no further contact with the students.
Yeah. So we shared, last week, I guess, about the USF coach and the charges that were dropped. But Jim Leavitt, the founding head coach of USF football, who charges were dropped and we said will be being honored and inducted in the USF Hall of Fame, will not be honored in the upcoming USF induction next month.
So yeah, USF just posted that Leavitt will not attend or be recognized due to the charges filed against him earlier in the year, even though I guess he was found not guilty. They just don't think it's worth the...
Well, a post they put up is like the president and him said, hey, we had a candid and productive conversation over the last few days. We mutually agreed, this is the public kind of statement, that he will not attend or be recognized. And they just acknowledge and appreciate the impact that he's had on USF football, but they just want to emphasize USF football and not allow the inductees to be kind of a distraction.
Mm-hmm. A new community center at Tampa Hope Shelter, in an more uplifting note, was opened just this week.
Yeah, so I was actually there. So Tampa Hope is run, this is by Catholic Charities, and is a shelter there. So they opened the Matthew 25 Community Center, which is incredible center. So if you don't know Tampa Hope, we've talked about it many times before, but it started with tents, and this actually was around the time of COVID. But then now they have these like pallet houses, these little like tiny house type things that are built on pallets, where people have these little cottages. Several hundred people that are living out there on site. And they built this like community center at the center of all that, which has a ton of showers, laundry rooms, professional grade kitchen, all designed to serve the residents, the experiencing homelessness that are in this kind of homeless shelter setup that they have, which is for transition, but so that the people that are staying there have everything they need in terms of the hygiene thing.
And yeah, so you mentioned it's called the Matthew 25 Community Center, and you're good with Bible verses. So do you want to share with listeners?
Well, yeah, so I smiled.
Well, you knew it right away.
I had a big smile as soon as I saw that they called it that. Matthew 25 is toward the end of Matthew 25. I actually pulled it up. I can share this with you guys, but this is in Matthew. It's Jesus talking, and it's really the only time that Jesus is ever cited as talking about something like judgment. That's not something he talked a lot about, even though like other places maybe do. But this is what he had to say. He said, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all of the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne, and all the nations will be gathered before him. And he will separate people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. So this is like the picture of judgment. He says, and then the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. And the righteous will answer him, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison, and when did we go visit you? And the king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And then he will say to those on his left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels, because, and he then echoes all these, because I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty, you didn't give me something to drink. I was naked, you didn't clothe me. I was a stranger, you didn't invite me in. And they say, when did we see you? So it's a repeat of that former one. And this is the separation. And so I think it's super cool. So this is where you get actually what is known as the works of mercy, the corporal works of mercy throughout the church. So like, I'm hungry, you give me food. And this is like at the heart of a lot of our work, right? We like drink to the thirsty, food to the hungry. Even our efforts around kind of reopening the shop is exactly that. It's like people need to have these places. And when we see that they don't have them, we want to come and meet them. Not just because of a promised judgment, but because it's the right thing to do. And I think that's what's being recognized in this Matthew 25 passage.
What I really like about the passage too, just hearing you say it out loud, is it says the righteous ask, when do we do that? So sometimes we don't even know. Yeah, like it's not a matter, and that's obviously sometimes I think the mistake that we make is we do things because we're trying to do them for the right reason. Like, I'm not going to say this right. Yeah. But we think that we have to do them to be a good person, and then we pat ourselves on the back and we kind of like go on to being like, I did the good thing, check. Versus, or
to be seen by others, which he also exactly like, that's your reward then.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly, that's your reward then. Versus you can have that when you don't know, like it's. Like, I think my mom's a really good example of this. Growing up, she was always the first person to, she would buy a Starbucks and a donut for this homeless guy that hung outside the Tim Hortons by my house almost every time she saw him. And she never explained that as like, we have to go help this. Like, she never explained that to us as like, we're going to go help this guy. Or it was just her.
Yeah, Fred wants a donut.
Yeah, like, and he never even asked for it, And so it was demonstrative of that. Like, if you asked her, do you give food to homeless people? She'd be like, no. But she gave it at that guy every single time we saw him. And so it wasn't like a choice to her. Like, it was just something she did to feed the guy that she saw was hungry.
Like a huge, point. Like even in the shaping of our organization and my own ethos, like one of my heroes is Dorothy Day, Peter Morin. They were the founders of the Catholic worker movement. And the corporal works of mercy were like fundamental to what they were doing. This is why they were like houses of hospitality for the poor, food lines, bread lines. Like it was food to the hungry, clothed to the eggs, explicitly what they were trying to do. There is a movie, a great movie, by the way, if you guys can find it. Like, it's a proper movie. And it's about the origin story of Dorothy Day and Peter Morin. Highly recommend this movie, but it's called Entertaining Angels. That title is there's a verse from Paul in the Bible, one of the apostolic letters, where he said, hey, there's this line that he says, you may be entertaining angels and not know it. And that's the idea, is like, you don't know, like, these are ambassadors of God. The poor, the sick, the weak. It's like God in disguise or something like that. So they named the community center Matthew 25. It's an incredibly beautiful place, and I was super excited to see it and then talk to them actually about what we're trying to do with the shop. And what's interesting, it's like, because it puts the shop to shame in terms of like how many showers, how nice it is, what what it has, but it's for the residents that are there. It's not available to go you can't just go roll up at Tampa Hope and be like, I need to take a shower. And they affirm, they're like, no, there needs to be something like this in the community, a place for people to go. And then, oh, by the way, maybe you introduce them over here into transitional program, and like, looks like they could be great partners for us.
A path, if you will, for them too.
A path.
But yeah, it's a 7,000 square foot center made possible by a gift from Drew and Susan Palubit, and it's named after the Bible verse that I think it's a great one to kind of remember.
Yeah, it was amazing. And actually Drew and Susan were there, and as was the mayor, and I mean everybody, like everybody from all the different things were there for the ribbon cutting that they did. It was beautiful to see it happening, but even just I didn't realize till I was there, and they like turned to this couple and said like, thank you for making this happen. And like, just a couple said like, this should happen, and funded it, and was able to make this happen. It's incredible.
But moving into some events happening around the Bay this weekend, here's what's going on. So we've got the AI date night.
I love this.
I know, me too. I was talking to Terry today, and I wish she told me about this. But it's AMRoC After Dark, kind of like playing on that like Mosey After Dark that they've been doing too. But it's an interactive event all about AI Romance and Chatbot Companionship, hosted by Aura Tanner of Black Unicorn Education, and it kicks off AMRoC's new After Dark series that they'll be doing. So it's happening yesterday.
It's happening yesterday.
It's happening yesterday, but it's a series. Sorry, folks. But it's a series, so hopefully
you missed getting to go on a blind date with a chatbot, which
And
is
we're
what
the
the
first
event
news
was.
outlet to report on that.
AI ships is
Yeah.
what they were calling them.
Well, sorry about that one.
Yeah, well, next up, events.
Mammoth Mayhem at Dinosaur World is taking place. This is a family-friendly Halloween fun with kind of all the scare zones and live music you can imagine, and then drinks from Keel Farms Winery. It's starting this weekend and runs through Friday through Sunday through October. It's over in Plant City for $22, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of more Halloween fall events coming at you. But otherwise, you can catch us in the community over at the Ybor Street Community Garden from 10 to noon on Fridays, every Friday, and then Harvest Hope Fridays from 10:30 to 11:30 as well.
Change those. Well, this is your roundup of all things Tampa.
And you can always find out more by visiting tampatalk.xyz or wordonthestreets.xyz. Don't forget, like, comment, and share the show.
We'll catch you next time.
Until
And
next time.
Y'all be good.